one man saying that is fine. If that's your opinion and you're not in it, that's fine. But there is an entire market of millions and millions of people that agree that it is a store of value. So, you can think one thing, but there's also a market, and markets tend to become efficient over time.
We do know that you will always get paid in Hex on a daily basis. And that is truly the miracle that we call Hex, because it is trustless interest, trustless yield. Nothing will stop that contract from running.
Welcome in, everybody, to the Creed of Crypto. I am Boo Boy Crypto because the spooky season, Halloween, is coming up. Welcome into the show. I'm here, as always, with my friend and co-host, Crypto Ewok. Welcome to everybody in the chat. We got a big show for you tonight. Valiant Low Key checks my pulse. We got Ash Ketchum in here, too. Interesting to see him here. So welcome in to all of you. Hammy228. Hex Girl, she's here early tonight. Nathan Julian, what is up, guys? Bitfinesse, gee, the chat's blowing up right now, right before our eyes. So welcome into all of you guys. We are going to talk about this cycle yet again. Are we getting an alt season? It's been Bitcoin only, obviously, for years. Lots of thoughts pouring out from people, mainstream crypto influencers and the like over the last few days, with everybody kind of giving their thoughts on what this cycle is going to be. Today is October 1st. This is the first day of the rest of our lives. It is the what am I trying to say? Fourth quarter, game time. Fourth quarter of the post-Bitcoin halving year. This is when things usually happen. Nothing's happened yet other than Bitcoin going up for the last couple of years. We've not seen Ethereum do anything. It hit an all-time high for about a 2-hour period a little over a month ago. Will we see this hockey stick move up in the next 3 months? Could people's lives be significantly changed this time actually for good in the next 3 months? Or are we heading into 2026? Because there's a lot of data and a lot of things out there to point to that. Would that be an extended cycle, a super cycle? Or are we under a 5-year cycle now? There's so many questions to be answered. Is this time different? And I really think it comes down to just the way that people look at it and kind of the terminology that we're using. So we'll talk about that tonight. We're going to look at the global M2 money supply because that has been going up. Is that more important than the Bitcoin halving in terms of a cycle? We're going to answer all that to the best of our ability. But Ewok, it is October 1st, the spooky season upon us. It is fall. I know it's not your favorite time of year. I do kind of like it. How you feeling tonight?
Welcome to spooky season. I told you guys, wake me up when September ends. I think it is that time. Somebody woke me up this morning and said, hey, you still got to get to work. So, but either way, no, I'm excited. I think things are you're starting to feel it a little bit. I don't know, prices are still not doing what we want them to do, but you're feeling it. There's different things that are kind of coming into action, and we know the marketing campaign is still in heavy outboarding of stuff. So they're sending all of that equipment, the whatever they are, the notepads, those are all going out, and there's plenty more to come from what I understand through the grapevine. There's a bunch of them. So starting to flow, things are starting to turn around. I mean, Richard's always been pretty good about timing things. So will that market last into 2026 like these guys are talking about? Man, I don't know. It's hard to say. I'm sure we'll talk about it later, but yeah, things are definitely starting to look up. Just hearing some more bullish talk. The bears are getting even more tired, and we're running out of time, guys. If you haven't loaded your bags yet, I really feel like you're doing yourself a disservice. Load them up, because you're going to get left behind if you don't.
I tend to agree with you with where we're at right now. I mean, there's just not been that euphoric feeling in this bull cycle yet. I mean, yes, Bitcoin has done very well. Yes, it has Bitcoin maxis kind of, victory lapping their opinion so far and calling for even higher Bitcoin dominance and stuff. And maybe it does. I mean, with the fact that, or the idea that we could push into 2026, maybe Bitcoin dominance does spike up a little bit again and pull up Ethereum with it, but BTC dominance still does well, and the alt season happens even later, which seems more and more likely to happen the way we're seeing things right now. But let's look at where we're at, because Bitcoin is looking mighty strong right now. So over the last couple of weeks, we saw it go down to about the 108K area. Of course, anytime you start to get a move down, everybody starts calling for like the bottom of where that move could be. A lot of people were saying 98K, which, I mean, that would still have kept the overall structure for this bull market had it gone down there. But now it's kind of left that area in the dust, because Bitcoin has looked really strong over the last. It's that weekly. So the weekly and the monthly close we just had, and Bitcoin and ETH, I texted you guys the other day, very good into the weekly close this past week. I think it went over 113 just in the weekly close. And here we are a few days later. We're about to go to 118 right now for Bitcoin. Yep. Crazy. It is moving hard in a very good direction. So almost 118K for BTC. ETH hanging in there, 4,300. We have been looking at the bull flag that it looks to have been kind of printing here for the last few weeks and looking good. I know everybody's impatient, and we tasted that all-time high just for a very short period a little while back. But honestly, this market looks really strong right now, and that doesn't mean that it's going to be up only for BTC and the rest of things, day in and day out here. But I mean, this strength right now is a really, really good indicator, I think. And yeah, I guess I'll just start off with where you feel with how Bitcoin is looking here, ETH bringing up the rear, but Bitcoin leading the market, I mean, looks unbelievably strong right now, Ewok. So what do you think?
Yeah, totally. Last week when we were doing the show, I had said we were in between these two moving averages, the 50 and the 200. Well, it's broke out of that. So it's going to turn the 50 especially up quickly. How much longer till we get to that 124-ish area that was the all-time high before? Could it do it next? Is it going to double, triple, top it? This one doesn't really count. I guess that top was about 123 back here in July, I guess it was. Then we creep back up there in August. And then, obviously, the month of September was kind of shitty, right? Now we're getting out of it. The first day of October, look at this green candle that's printing. I mean, here's part of the sentiment that, like I said, you start to hear things on TV, people talking about it again. Eric Trump saying it's going to go to $1 million. I mean, we hear that every cycle. Obviously, we know it's not going to go to $1 million this cycle. But you start to hear those type of things, and it creates a buzz. So, yeah, very, very bullish. It looks good. It's strong. We've crossed this the previous lower high anyway. So that was at about right where we're at right now, actually 117.5 ish back here in September. So it tried to make a rally and just fizzled. But again, we're seeing some strength, probably some people playing on the fact that October is usually pretty good. And that's what's kind of set this move off. When you go to Ethereum, you're seeing a similar setup. Now we're still between the 50 and 200 moving averages, which means not terrible. Although we think it's terrible because it just hasn't done much, but we're still now playing back in this original channel again. We weren't last week when we streamed. We were just fighting it. So it did a final dip, and now we're seeing that strength again play into October. So this is going to be critical, I think, if we can get above this 50 moving average and continue at least to match the 4,700-ish area before it maybe does a slight pullback and then goes higher. I think that's the setup that's kind of looking like it's about to take. Let's look at the infamous ratio. So the ratio is also looking bullish for Ethereum. In the past 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, in the past week, we have 4 of the 7 green candles. So again, you're seeing momentum, you're seeing things build slowly but surely. And again, we're in between the same moving averages, even for this. So yeah, I'm really liking what I'm seeing. I, do you want to talk about the cycle extension now, or do we talk about that a little bit later?
I just wanted to say a thought on Ethereum real quick, since you were talking about it there. It's really been textbook for Ethereum here over the last couple of weeks that a lot of people were calling for. I mean, a lot of people honestly nailed these latest moves on Ethereum. So we saw it was practically a consensus trade that we would see a sell-off after the announcement of the rate cuts, that it was going to be kind of a sell the news event. Ethereum went right down to like the 3,800 level, which many people called literally exactly if not 4K, then a little below it. It did that. Here we are already reclaiming 4K within 2 weeks later and pushing up to start October. So Ethereum's just been so textbook right now. The ratio is still, not in good shape, but we hope to get above that 0.04 number again, and then hopefully start moving up. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's going to be the next key. That's the key move. I think, we were above it. We were up to 443 at one point back here in August, and then again it fizzled. It tried to recover, fizzled again. We'll see what this recovery can do. If we can get above even this trend line, which was the base level for the bull flag, that will be very, very important, I think. And then, maybe use this as a support type area to bounce off of as it continues up. That's kind of what I'm looking for, but I really think it's going to break out between these, between the moving averages here very, very soon.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. It's been very bullish looking. And yeah, in terms of, one final thought on ETH, and then, we'll talk about like I want to look at the M2 money supply, 2026, all that stuff. I mentioned to you the other day, and I don't know if it was a random Monday thing, these things can happen when there are, some token sale going on that maybe we didn't know about, but ETH GWEI was up like significantly on Monday. I was monitoring it because I had some money coming in. I was going to DCA and I was going to use the bridge. And I was just looking at ETH GWEI. I mean, it was up. I think I saw it peak at like 15 actually, which, I mean, hearing that in 2021 would be like, oh shit, GWEI's down to 15. I got to make some moves or whatever. Now, at this moment, it feels like, oh my God, it's going to cost me $4 just to send my money off of Coinbase or whatever, because we just haven't seen those numbers for so long. I mean, even seeing it at like 8 GWEI was insane. Like, oh man, it's going to cost me like $5 to use the bridge when I've been spending like a quarter for the last couple of years. So I'm curious if you think that's any kind of an indicator, Ewok, that like where you're seeing more activity on chain. Sure, maybe we don't see the GWEI numbers. Maybe we do, that were as outrageous as last bull cycle, but it was interesting to see it perk up to me the other day.
Yeah, so I am I sharing the right screen here? Yeah, so I pulled up Etherscan. I went to the chart of historical gas prices. Looks like we had a pretty healthy spike on September 1st. For some reason, I don't know what was going on that day, whatever it was, but it spiked up to over 6, almost 7. And then, yeah, like you said, it was on Monday, the 29th. We had a spike up around 3, which, listen, that's pretty damn good. I remember last market when it was in the 200s, crazy numbers. It was just ridiculous. So have they fixed the problem? Has the other chains kind of taken market share to ease the burden? We do have Base and Sui and Solana and however many other ones that are, gaining market share. So could be beneficial to everybody, not to mention, and Pulse Chain. I did not mention them on purpose, but, right. I really think that the gas will work itself out. Now, is it indicative of something that we don't know about? Most likely. There was probably a launch of something that got everyone's attention for a bit of time because it just really went back down afterwards. So, if it had maintained something, then we would know that something definitely changed, would give people more to look into to see what's going on. But you get a brief spike like that just within one day, like you said, usually a launch of a shit coin that everybody's trying to get into all at the same time.
Right.
And it will spike it up because the blocks get full much quicker. So yeah, but as of right now, we're looking at 0.2 to 0.21 to 0.25. That's pretty damn good. This is, if it continues like this will be a very interesting cycle. I'm very curious to see how this reacts and to see if they really did fix something that we thought was quite broken.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess people minting some Zen on Monday or something like that by the looks of it. So, yeah, very interesting to see. So hopefully it continues with Ethereum. But looking at the cycle and zooming out even more. So, if you want, maybe we could launch off with this by looking at that post from that Jesse Eckel person that I sent you. I'm not even really sure who that is, but I just thought he summed it up pretty well in the post that I sent you. Okay, perfect. Yeah. If we look at that first, so we can kind of bounce off this and then just give our thoughts. So he said, everyone and their mom is planning on selling the top next month because they believe the 4-year cycle is still repeating. As I've been saying since the start of 2025, I mean, I can't substantiate that, but he says this will be crypto's first 5-year cycle. The cycle will extend well into 2026 due to things like the SLR adjustments, the credit cycle, and Besant's mandate from heaven to run the economy hot. Past cycles lined up perfectly with year-over-year liquidity growth and wider macro conditions that were supportive of risk assets. This cycle hasn't had anything even remotely similar. It's been abysmal, which is why it's felt miserable for most of the crypto space, despite BTC going basically up only due to the ETF bid and institutional narrative. 2026, we have Powell out of office and Trump stacking the Fed in his favor while asking for 300 basis points of cuts. We have the Clarity Act, which on its own is bullish enough to kick off a bull run, altcoin ETFs, the SEC throwing the doors wide open, and so much more. Past cycles topped in peak euphoria with retail mania everywhere as liquidity shifted from maximum easing toward tightening, taper, QT, high signaling. Those tops made perfect sense if you looked at them through a macro lens. This cycle makes zero sense. We're heading into a rate cutting cycle. QT isn't getting ramped up, but likely ending in early 2026. SLR policy for banks is loosening, reserve requirements not tightening. Coupled with the ramping up of institutional involvement, the regulatory floodgates opening wide, and the ETFs acting as the ultimate on-ramp for boomers, trillions, most ETF action is retail-driven, not institutional. I think it is beyond absurd to think this cycle is anywhere even close to over. That coupled with the fact that institutions are onboarding slowly. They're marketing, releasing products, and getting their clients into crypto. We should see this accelerate into 2026 as well. I'm sure at some point we'll see a crazy sell-off driven by the 4-year cycle believers. Don't let that psyop you. This will be the first 5-year cycle. So there's a lot of interesting food for thought. I mean, you can't deny some of the things that he said. Like the quantitative easing has not really started yet. We just had our first rate cut. I mean, we're only seeing the beginning of money printing about to happen. Bitfinesse made a good point earlier about the government shutdown happening today. I'll be honest, I haven't even remotely followed that story, but it's no secret. I mean, we are going to see money printing start to happen. They got as close as they could to, try to stave off inflation. They're going to continue to kick the can down the road. It's a never-ending story that we always talk about. But I'm curious as to your response to some of his points here. I mean, I know people like to criticize the meme of like, oh, this time is different. The things that are happening in terms of quantitative easing have been different. Like the calendar has been different, and he's right. Like these things have not happened yet. I don't know that that means that we do definitely run deep into 2026, but I think the possibility is stronger than ever probably right now. So what do you make of his points here?
Well, yeah, I mean, you have to give some credibility to it, right? I still think you have to go based on what you know. We can only go based on the statistical evidence that has been there for the last four cycles. Could it go longer? Well, of course, anything could happen. The question is, will it? And will those other things, do they matter to crypto? And, the rate cuts for sure, the money printing for sure, the QT, the quantitative tightening and easing, I don't know. I mean, again, we just don't know. There's not enough data to say how far. We said this could go into 2026. We said that probably first quarter was our pretty much latest prediction, or at least that I've made anyway. I think you're starting to fall into well, it could go later. But again, we forget that it doesn't take long. A bull market does not last long. Everybody's out there thinking, oh, this is going to go months and months and months of bull market, and that's just not how it works. It never has before. Why? I just don't think anything changes. When things get that heated up, you see that bubble and you see the pop at the top. I mean, it is what it is. Every cycle, it's the same way. It runs super hot. Retail gets in. Everybody's chasing candles. It gets so overbought, and then that's it. So, will there be people that sell off? Probably. Because again, that's the data that we know. That's what you have to go based on. Could there be secondary things to keep it going? Well, we look back at 2021 and the top that happened there in April, and then it continued to make a secondary high in September. So I think it was September, but either way, whatever it was, there were people that took profits in April. I know there were. And then there were other people that got sucked into thinking it was going even higher because of talk like this. And they probably got wrecked because they bought in as it was going up, thinking, oh crap, it's not over yet. And now there they are holding the bags that fell like crazy. So I just think you have to be leery, and you have to watch what you say. And especially in times like that, where yes, there could be a secondary high top, but will it affect the rest of the cycle? Now that is when altcoins actually peaked, right? Most of them on the second part of the cycle. So there's a lot of ways. There's a lot of ways to look at this, and the best we can say is, man, I just don't know. I really would love it if we had a clean cycle again. But some of these things that these people are talking about lead me to believe more of a double top, where it does get hot, it cools off, and then maybe there is more money printing. Maybe in 2026 we do see another secondary double top of an all-time high. Anything's possible. It's just, that's my way of saying, man, I just really don't know, and I don't want to lead people astray, other than to say now's the time to buy, because things are heating up. I do know that is one thing for certain. When you sell and take profits, that's kind of on everybody else at their point. But that's where I'm at with this whole thing.
Well, I do agree with something that you said. Because he listed off a lot of stuff there, and I do think some of it's noise. Like, I don't put as much credence in the SEC is doing this and the Clarity Act, and that to me is just conjecture. Like, I'm not at all paying attention to anything like that. I'm strictly looking at money printing. Like, when is this stuff happening? And like you said, those are the most important bullet points, and it is happening later in this cycle than we've seen before. I tend to think somebody that is this rooted into that we're running deep into 2026 may be mistaken, but I think there's a scenario where everybody wins here.
Sure.
Well, I should say this: not everybody's going to win, but everybody could be right. Because, and you don't have to bring this up, but Bob Lucas, I saw, he of the 4-year cycle fame and stuff, just tweeted a little bit ago, like, I'm seeing a lot of people talk about the idea of a 5-year cycle. Like, that's this cycle's new terminology for super cycle or whatever. And then he said in a subsequent tweet, regardless, the 4-year cycle would be intact as long as we bottom hard in late 2026. He's basically saying, and I'm not blaming him, but he's having his cake and eating it too. Like, he's basically saying, yeah, we could top into 2026. Like, to him, it is still a 4-year cycle if the top comes April, May of 2026, because he's still thinking maybe there's a violent enough move where November, December, which still lines us up, is the bear market bottom in 2026 of next year. So whether Bitcoin tops this month, the cycle overall this month, November, December, April of next year, as long as we see the bottom on time at the end of next year, Like Bob Lucas is like, hey, that's still the 4-year cycle. So it's all the terminology. Like there's a lot of nuance to it, and it's all like even what this guy's describing here, I don't even know that that's a 5-year cycle because if you look at it through Bob's lens, it's like if the bear market low is the end of next year, I still consider that a 4-year cycle. So you can say whatever words you want to define it. But like you just said a minute ago, I think what we agree on is we haven't topped yet. There hasn't been an altcoin season. Ethereum's done nothing, and we're still waiting for it. So, yeah, I think that the window very conservatively is definitely within the next boy. I mean, I think the latest that I would guess right now for a top would be like May of next year, but I don't think I would go any deeper than that.
Yeah.
And again, I think everybody can be right still. So
yeah, everybody could be right. It sounds like Bob's talking out both sides of his mouth. I try not to do that.
Yeah.
I try to stick with what I believe. But however, you are seeing a lot of things that are pointing, and credit to where it's due. Axis has been talking about it going deeper into 2026 for a long time as well. So let's not forget that. And again, it only takes 8 to 10 weeks usually for the bull market to take off, to hockey stick, to go crazy. And that is those green candles that we always talk about that will get people retail start to pump money in. So it's not too late until it becomes November and we still haven't seen anything. Then it's like, okay, I'm resigned to the fact what this has to go, into then. So, until then, I'm going to believe that we're still going to see a first very, very high pump, all-time high. Again, December, January, one of the two. That's where I'm still sitting.
And I think there's merit equally to both still right now. Like most of the people, many people, participants in this market right now have not seen that parabolic move at the end of a bull market and cannot conceive, that right now within the next 2 months, 3 months, this all could happen. You know what I mean? Like some people have never seen that. Like you have seen that. Now that was a few cycles ago when the assets were a lot younger and moved a little bit differently. So,
yeah,
but I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that I could flip a coin, basically. I mean, I think there is a lot of credence. As I just said, flip a coin. I'd say there's probably 50% chance that, next year could be it. So,
yeah. Well, don't forget, we've seen violent moves in 2017. We've seen violent moves in 2021. Those are the two that I've seen anyway, both to the upside. So, yes, things, and there was a lot less to buy. Don't forget, like you said, coins were young, everything was, and there were only so many. Now there are multi-chains. There's thousands of coins on each of those, and it's definitely spread it out. The thing that I think most people had thought would happen is the overall people in crypto would have also increased, and I think it has. I really do. I mean, every time you look, there's more and more people that are waking up to crypto and believing in it. So, I think that's growing, maybe not at the pace that some people kind of expected it to. And that could be another part of this whole equation too, is the overall people keeping up with the pace of all these newer things, right? It takes a lot of people to support all the different chains and all the different coins. And so, yeah.
Do you want to, we'll do this very quickly because I don't want to belabor the point. Do you want to show the M2 money supply real quick and we'll just kind of point to what we're seeing lately and then we can move on from this since it's been the whole show so far?
Yep. Let's go there. Am I sharing this one? Here we go.
Yeah, there you go. All right. So, this is the global M2 money supply, which Ewok and I were looking at off air. And as you can see, it's up only forever, obviously, because we know that the money printing continues forever. But if you do look lately, and this is very zoomed out. I mean, we're going years over years over years. But if you look at the upper right of this chart and you look at, and again, this is a much, much like kind of flatter chart than we're seeing with drastic crypto moves, which makes sense for what this is. But we are just now, this point in time, marking an all-time high and just moved past the little peak that we had in, was that 2022, I believe.
Yeah, it was March 30. Well, the end of March. So these go the best candles that you can do is a monthly with the money supply. This was the very end of March 2022.
So you can see we have basically been in a correction, and again, the move doesn't look as drastic as your, Tangang chart or whatever, but we've been in a dip basically and recovering up over the last year, and we are back to all-time highs for the global M2 money supply right now. So, I mean, that should be a sign of things to come. We just recovered this move, just moved past where we were in 2022. And you figure after this correction we've had for the last 2 to 3 years, we're going to see continue. I don't think there's any such thing as just like drastic move up with this chart, but we're going to continue to see just a nice, easy move up for the next at least a year, if not two.
Yeah, I agree. When you break it out like this, like I said, when you expand this thing, it looks pretty flat, but then you start to zoom way out on it, and it just, there's your money printing since the 90s anyway. This starts in 91, it looks like. So from 91 till now, it's been nothing but up. To your point, it did top out around March 31st of 2022. Looks like we hit a bottom here in April of 23, and it's slowly, just ever so slowly, but here it turned it up. It started to turn it up probably October, November. Guess that was right around election time, maybe. Turn up the printers, try and get some things working in our favor, or right before that, where the Democrats probably started saying, well, let's try and win this. And I think that's where the spending started. Then it did taper off a little bit in December, and now we're tapering back up. And again, like you said, to your point, we just passed not long ago the top, which was 21.8 trillion. Now we are up to 22.2. So again, we have eclipsed that old all-time high in the money printing, money supply cycle, or not cycle. It's just the money supply. And yeah, if we can get this to turn up a little bit, it's definitely good for those of us in crypto.
Huge. Yeah. I mean, all of these things that we're kind of piecing together, and I'm so glad that we do it. I hope the viewers are too, because it does give you a chance when you get maybe stressed out during the week, or like some of the people in the chat here, people have been going back and forth about whether the pulse chain marketing is working, missing the fact that Ethereum's $4,300 and, a lot of the bigger things haven't happened yet.
I'm watching that conversation too and kind of just chuckling to myself, but
right, because when you look at these things that we've been talking about, like, this is what really matters. And I mean, I'm not saying that pulse chain marketing doesn't, but it's, again, as we've used this analogy a million times, kind of like the icing on the cake whenever things are really moving. But
can I point something out to this person though? I would be willing to bet that there's probably been, I don't know, 300,000-400,000 of these sent out so far, right?
The pulse chain tablet,
the marketing. Tablets, the marketing, the one that he says isn't working. I don't know about you, but we've seen a lot of interactions on the first ones that we've seen anyway. The people that are making comments, things like that, you're getting a couple 100,000 impressions with people on just those few. Can you imagine what happens? They've been slowly ramping up. I think right when they first started, they were lucky to get 10 to 20,000 of them out the door per day. The goal is to get it up to about 100,000. And there are millions of these things going out, millions. So please be patient. You can't just start sending things and say, it's not working, man. It's not working. I'm done. You can't do that. It's just, that's not the case. Things are timed for a reason. You've got to let it ramp up. You've got to let them get the systems in place. Just like anything, when you start, these guys don't really, I'm not knocking them for what they're doing, but this isn't their profession. I don't think, they're learning the system. They're trying to improve it to get it more efficient, so that they can send many more of these out all at one time. The impact will be greater when that starts to happen. So yeah, people just have no patience. I don't know. you think things are going to happen overnight, man. I don't know. I'm sorry. You're muted.
The marketing's a fun story and it'll become more fun like as the bull market goes on, but there's a reason we didn't just spend 38 minutes talking about the pulse chain marketing and we did on everything we just talked about because it's what's most important.
Right.
So yeah, I get it. Yeah, and if you want to be bearish, if you want to sell, if you can't be patient, I mean, you probably are weak-handed and maybe you shouldn't be in whatever you're in, honestly, if you have that much doubt. I mean, I don't have any doubt at all, and I'm not even worried about that. So anyway, thank you to everybody being active in the chat. We appreciate you guys being here. Please do hit the like to support the channel and Pulse Chain. Speaking of Pulse Chain, so all we did was talk about macroeconomics, Ethereum, Bitcoin for the last 40 minutes, which was fantastic. But let's look at where the Pulse Chain ecosystem is right now price-wise. So, of course, we've come down over the last couple of weeks, having a little bit of a recovery now that the market has, and we're into a new month. We have Pulse right now at 4 zeros and 3617, Hex at 0084. We've got Pulse X at 4 zeros 2415, Inc. $1.42. eHex is at 00285. And of course, and I'm doing this specifically for EWAC, we have PDI at 004152 and for Crypto 7. So that is where we are with all the tokens in the ecosystem. Yeah, what do you make of where we're at right now? I mean, again, we just kind of had this conversation, but we're waiting for everything else to go up. But I think Pulse is kind of holding a decent structure here because it's been hanging right around where we've seen a lot of market history. You know, we kind of bounced off the level that was the previous all-time low back in August of 2023 when Gary Gensler and the corrupt SEC brought the lawsuit on. And that's where we've been bouncing off of and showing support. So, yeah, what do you make of that right now, Ewok?
Well, again, I want to take a look at the fear and greed and the altcoin season index here, just so we can monitor these. I want to go back through and look at these as time goes on, be a good touch point for us. Fear and greed is down to 42. People are getting afraid again, and you can tell by certain person's comments in the chat. The weak-handed folks are getting afraid. So this is kind of ticking down a little bit, which is I find interesting. It always happens right before a big run, but that's okay. Altcoin season sitting at 62 out of 100. So find that interesting. Let's open up the old Pulse chart here and see. I think we're up a good, was it 4% today? 5% maybe. Mm-hmm. Let's get her loaded here and we'll see. Yeah. So these levels that we talked about, and I said were critical, that we didn't break down through. Clearly, it didn't. It did find support there. Bounced off of that nicely. Now we are running into a previous line here at the 326 area where we're at. It's made a couple attempts here. It looks like 3 candles have bounced off of it so far. Be interesting to see what happens with this one today and into tomorrow now that we have a new month. I am curious to see how we react if it bounces off. And again, we could ride in this channel for a little bit of time as well until things really start to pop off. So that's what I think our eyes are on, that this current area that we are in right now. If we can break through it, then I do believe the next area of support is up to the 445 area. So yeah, I think we're looking good. Again, we're looking strong. We've found somewhat of a local floor here, and now we've hit resistance again. So these areas quite critical. Once we get above them, there isn't much, right? There isn't much from history in certain levels. I mean, you can always pick out certain things where they've touched or gone right through. But yeah, as we continue to go up, there are fewer and fewer of them. So keep that in mind as well. When you start to zoom out, really, once we get to 0.003 0003 area, there's nothing above that. So That's a 10x from here, right? I believe. Yep.
Yeah.
About a 10x from here. Look out.
Which, I mean, that
Can happen overnight.
well, not only that, but I was gonna say a 10x, like, people are like, "Well, I'm not here for a 10x," but, I mean, a 10x, if you've been DCAing hardcore all this time, is
Mm,
like, I mean,
yeah,
imagine what your bags could be at that point, you know what I mean? Like, for
absolutely.
those, and people know what I'm talking about, like, if you're out there and you really have been doing the work and DCAing all this time and you got even a 10x, like, where you would be right now, and if that were, and that's just to the
Absolutely.
all-time high. That's only to the Pulse all-time high. That's just the recovery to where it was in what, I guess, May, June of 2023. Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
that's all that is. So,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
and we're not here for 10x. I'm sorry. Yes, it would be nice if you DC8 in and what it can turn into just at that level, but we aren't here for 10x. I'm sorry. I'm not here for a 10x.
Well, I think you'd probably take it though. But no, that wouldn't be. I mean, that would look like a failure on the chart. I mean, that would just be recovering where it had hit, whenever it launched, basically. So
Yeah.
that's all we're talking about. A 10x is to the Pulse all-time high that was still in a bear market. I mean, it was in 2023. So,
Yeah.
yeah, keep that in mind. Go ahead.
Did you bring this comment
I
up
did
that
for
Finesse
a
is
moment. Go
okay?
ahead.
Everyone right now is looking at XRP, Doge, ETH, BTC, thinking, "Damn, I had some of that stuff when it was worth nothing. Now it's too expensive." Same thing will happen with Pulse Chain. That's crypto. Couldn't have said it better myself, man. That is spot on. It happens with everything, anything that has community, that has sustained or staying power, I should say. This happens to, right? Things get, people say, wait till it dips, and then they forget about it or whatever. It's not worth it. Look, people are bitching about price. Uh, right now is the time to get some of this stuff before it does get too expensive. Um, yeah, I this is a perfect comment.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there. Yeah. Well, remains to be seen. We got a long, long way to go. Maybe not necessarily time wise, but price wise on the chart, and it could happen at a asymmetrical time frame. So best to be ready for that, obviously. So, any final thoughts on anything in terms of the prices, anyway, of the Pulse Chain ecosystem you walk?
No, but I do want to look at the EHEX chart.
Yeah, let's do that because great stream today. Shout out Corey Geary and Johnny Chaos. Awesome stream on Corey's channel today. I guess the debate, I mean, it wasn't P-Hex versus E-Hex or anything like that. It
No,
was, I mean, it was really just Johnny talking for the whole time, which was fantastic, honestly. I mean, I haven't really seen him for a while, and I think he came out firing really hard. And we've agreed with his stance on this the entire
yeah,
time. Like, since the launch of
absolutely.
Pulse Chain, you don't shoot and kill one of your babies. There are two hexes, and ideally we would have had parity at whatever price that would be from the very beginning. And yeah, people have actively shouted that down, and Johnny even amended it. He was like, if I were Richard, I wouldn't have said it this way. I'd have said it a different way. And I agree with him. But
Yeah,
yeah, EHEX, we got BankX just about out of their allotment. They have, I think, 6 million hex left, and that's
yep,
it.
that's it.
So yeah, what do you make of all this?
Well, no, it looks really good. As far as the other charts go, this one is looking pretty solid as well. This one has eclipsed a high that we haven't seen. Okay, there was a tiny one here where it did get up to the 0031, but we are approaching that level with some big candles and some strength. I'm seeing a lot of these that ran up there are almost repeating, right? So this previous level back here was the high for the longest time of 003, essentially, and then we just kind of fizzled and faded. Now we've made two attempts at it, and we are almost over it again. As you start to tap on these old resistance levels, they become weaker and weaker. I know a lot of the liquidity is drying up. There's a lot less for sale. So that is playing a big part of this. Also, a lot of the comments that Johnny made today were spot on. And they always have been. Nothing's changed. Again, ideally, what would have happened where the two would have had parity, there would have been no confusion. You buy hex, it is hex. You bridge it over, it's the other hex. You bridge it over, it's the other hex. No questions asked. Which one's better? How do I get over there? It would have been a great on-ramping tool to buy one into Ethereum, send it over to Pulse Chain, and have the same value. I always thought that's what should have been done with the supply, not stake 98% of it. However, I agree with what was done because the inflation was getting out of control, right? People were just using that to just dump and dump and dump. So, okay, now that that's been done, how do we get these things to be much closer in value? It makes so much more sense to have it that way. I know a lot of people may not agree. The better chain, we want people to move on to Pulse Chain. But again, you've got to have more ramps to get there. And having Ethereum Hex and P Hex be the same price and a easy bridge from one to the other, I just think that's a no-brainer. And it would make it so much easier than having to on ramp with anything else. You're causing, you would have some arbitrage on the two. People buy it up, sell on the other, and keep them even price. But that's just in a perfect scenario. I think that would be the ideal way to go. So they're still the same. They're the same code. They work the same. It is a very unique type of coin where it doesn't really exist anywhere else. It's still very, very special, and people just haven't caught on to that and realized it yet.
And that's something I said to John. Johnny brought it up today, and I agree with him still. I mean, whether Hex is anybody's biggest bag or not in this ecosystem, like I do think it remains Richard's most unique creation. I mean, really, actually, if you think of it, it's his only creation in a way, because
it is.
The other stuff have been forks. Now, Pulse X obviously is a much, much, much better product than Uniswap, for example, and there's merits to all that stuff. It's just that they are forks and kind of adaptations of existing stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're compilations of other software that works well. Hex is original. Hex is the from scratch type creation that again exists really nowhere else. You cannot get trustless yield anywhere else without giving up
contract from running.
Exactly. I didn't say that, but you can't get it anywhere else without giving up. There's so much risk in the other places. So, yeah.
What do you make? And I see Bitfinesse reply to this, but from Nathan Julian, do you think eHex will just cut through at SNR, have this? I don't know what he was saying there. And have God candle to 50 cents EWalk? Basically, the liquidity is so low on eHex is his point.
Yeah, it could happen with a $500,000 buy. It could easily happen. It wouldn't take much. Do I think it will cut through? No. I think there are still going to be the people out there that have some that are still wanting to be on the other side. I think you'll see some sell off, but it won't take much to get it there. I think it can easily get back to the 50 cent area without much pressure. You are going to see, again, you're going to see massive dips on anything that runs that hard. Anything that works, that does a 10,000x like it did before, you're going to see 50 and 60% pullbacks of people selling. It's just how it all works out. That the sellers become weaker and it starts to move much easier.
Yeah. And from Alan here, he said, if RH did the same kill tweet, I don't think people would FUD eHex the same way today. I guess he means if he didn't do it, I don't know. But I never really agreed with how RH posted that either. And I think he kind of regrets it in retrospect, because I remember him making memes about how people reacted to that post back when he did it,
Well, it was basically him stating, well, it looks like the market decided, stating what was going on. He didn't FUD anything. He said the market decided. I didn't do anything, but people really misconstrued it, took it out of context, and said, "Oh, Richard said sell your eHex." Well, that's not anything close to what he said. He said it looks like people are going over here. And I think what he was doing was trying to get more attention to Pulse Chain at that time, It wasn't anything about buying or selling one or the other. Again, we moved over there because the gas fees were bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'll bring up another quote that Johnny said out this afternoon. The roads were horrible. You know, it was like the snow plows had run over them 50 times and created so many potholes that it was terrible. Well, it got repaved. It looks like as of right now, the gas seems to be better. So when things get fixed, okay, well, now there may be more reality in keeping them a little bit closer to parity. I don't know. That would really piss a lot of people off, though. It'd be funny.
Right. Rin had an interesting, and then we can wrap up on this point if I can actually scroll up to get his comment. He said about the kill tweet, he did that on purpose. I bet he knows his influence and what his words carry. Well, he clearly did the post on purpose. I guess what you mean is like, what is there more intent behind it? And it's an interesting thing. And like, there's a lot of people that also have thought that the BankX thing has been a psyop too. Like, not that they weren't really an entity that had all of this EHEX, but just this imaginary horrible. I guess it's not imaginary, but yeah, in a way, this imaginary horrible.
Well, it was
this black cloud hanging over the price's head. You know.
Yeah, there's been bigger whales that have destroyed the price more than BankX. Actually, they haven't really hurt it too bad. Now, yeah, it's bad. Everything's bad. But in the grand scheme of things, BankX really didn't hurt the price as bad as what we thought they would. And you know, had we not talked about it, people probably wouldn't have even noticed, really.
Yeah.
And not just us, but everybody. Everybody brought it up. Everybody. It was a one of those black clouds that were hanging over our heads, but they really didn't have that much effect.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, good stuff overall. EHEX looking good, and nice to see it curl back up in its ratio against HEX as well. So if you guys are here and enjoying the stream, do us a favor and hit the like. We appreciate you being here. We do this every Wednesday night at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let's move on to one of the other topics about what RH has talked about over the last couple of days. And I'm trying to see what the best one would be to go to, because we're now way more limited on time than we usually are because we had a long convo there. So I think it would be best to maybe start, since we had the questions about the tablets and stuff earlier in the marketing. Do you maybe want to pull up what he posted? I think it was on Tuesday about the marketing, and he tagged Ethereum in that post too. I think it starts, it was just with the word Ethereum. He started it with. Okay, so he says, Ethereum, imagine you received a free, useful gift, and the third sentence on it was, we hope you'll like us and learn about free open source technology, like Ethereum, which was 31 cents in 2014 and nearly $5,000 in 2025. You'd be pretty happy about that, right? You might be curious to learn. You surely wouldn't be ungrateful, disrespectful trash, right? I see this time and time again, people spitting in the face of those that give them free things. It's pretty disgusting, really. I mined Bitcoin free. Hex was free for Bitcoin holders. Pulse Chain gave a free copy of all tokens on Ethereum and with ETH balances. There's even tons of free and open source software. Pulse Chain even raised $27 million for medical research charity. Here's what your mama should have taught you. When you receive something useful for free, you say thanks. When someone promotes free and open source software to improve the world, you say thanks, especially if it's software you also support. When someone teaches you something that might make your life better, you say thanks. When someone brings attention to the causes you care about, you say thanks. How many people are willing to spend their time, their effort to promote what you care about? I wish more people spend their time and expended great effort promoting the things that would make the world better. So who's he subtweeting at? Well, and then he finishes up with, I can either link you. Oh, yeah, because I think he was talking about, was it a Reddit post or something, I thought?
Well, yeah. So if you go into here and you go into Reddit, he lists all of these different comments that are just crazy. My first thought is some attempt to steal your data. Don't connect it to anything. It's electronic junk mail. Just pitch it in the trash. Weird ass crypto scam. You know, I'm just going through some of these quick ones, but ain't no such thing as a free lunch. He goes down here and he says, I'm just tired of, I'm not even going to copy and paste all the stuff from the crypto forum. Tired of pasting. So yeah, these were all comments that were made in different, I think it was a Reddit thread or whatever it was. Um, yeah.
And we know Reddit is the land of the soy
Oh
anyway.
yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
mean,
Good stuff.
yeah. But yeah, who's he totally subtweeting here? I mean, obviously there's the Reddit stuff and these people don't even know. I guess he's talking about people that are not already in the ecosystem that are receiving these things, and honestly, maybe even some of the people that have been critical of them and stuff. Maybe some of what we've seen in the chat tonight. Yeah, I guess what do you think he's overall summarizing with this though?
Well, just how ungrateful people are. Yeah, I think that's all he's really trying to get at is listen, when you get somebody sending you something, but you know, the haters, listen, we made it the last cycle with haters. And this gives him more ammo, more reason to make it successful. Things like this, when people say things that are negative based, no one supports you. It adds fuel to the fire, in my opinion. And I think it just kind of fires Richard up. Just take it from the last cycle of how he wanted to make sure. He said it was designed to 10,000x. Well, what did it do? It 10,000x.
Mm-hmm.
Did he have something to do with that? Maybe. Did he kick off the buying with certain times and timed it perfectly? Maybe. But again, I think this just adds fuel to the glory fire that he has already.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there. Maybe we can transition into another one of his posts that is somewhat linked to this. So there was that, and we've got massive updates. So let's actually go to the Pulse Block Explorer update that we got the other day. So this is a really big one that, many people have been complaining about for the existence of Pulse Chain, basically. And we've got an update to Pulse Scanner. He posted a few different details about it. I saw that David Fader has actually been just started to stream every day now, and he was talking about this a lot as he is apparently he calls himself. I guess he is like the #1 Pulse Chain validator, which I did not know. But obviously, he is a Pulse Chain validator, so he's been appreciative of all this stuff.
Well, David set up Paul. I forget what his company is. I'm sorry, David. I forget. But he will sell pre-made validators to people who don't want to do it all themselves. It's a kit. It's very relatively decent price for somebody that's gathering everything, putting some software, getting it started anyway. You do have to finish it, but yeah, he's getting it ready and sending them out that way. He's also renting ones that he has, 2 people. He's running it for you basically, and making sure that it stays up to date. There is a service fee, obviously, for him to run it, and a commission, whether it's some of the rewards go to him or a monthly charge for the bandwidth as well. So with all of that combined with what he's doing and what people have enlisted him to do, yeah, he has become the largest one. So pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, here is the post from RH, and this was hugely bullish. I mean, people love this, obviously. So he says, Pulse Chain Explorer 1.10 is released, scan.pulsechain.com. Real-time data architecture, implemented 6-second polling system for homepage latest blocks and latest transactions, built with React query for efficient cache management and automatic refetching. Modern wallet infrastructure migrated from Web3 modal to Reown. I mean, I don't even know what some of this stuff is. Updated WAGMI configuration for AppKit compatibility, maintain backward compatibility with existing wallet connection flows, performance optimizations, reduced unnecessary re-renders with smart polling intervals, optimized Webpack bundle with proper fallbacks, better. Would you say that caching?
Caching.
Yeah. For React query, source maps configured for production debugging. Pulse Chain Explorer v1.1.0, real-time updates, improved wallet connection, cleaner interface. So, I mean, this is pretty big. This has been something that people have bitched about, obviously, with the ecosystem. And one of the reasons that many are like, it's not, this can't be a real layer 1 because the Block Explorer sucks and all these things. So, yeah, what do you make of this? Obviously, many people love this one. So,
Yeah, it's huge. It is one of the things, it was one of the early things that everyone said, Richard, we need an explorer. We need an explorer. That's the first thing that you need to do to onboard people. We need an explorer. And you and I were like, who the F cares?
Never looked at it. Yeah.
Newbies don't care or even know what an explorer is. However,
Right.
there are a lot of things that run off of this softwares. You and I, we both use Coinly. They haven't been able to connect to Pulse Chain for a while now. So hopefully this will get that fixed as well.
Coinly, just not take it for granted that people don't know. So basically, the crypto tax platform Coinly has attempted to use Pulse Scanner, and they haven't been able to access it for like 3 or 4 months now. So it's been a problem
since July. Yeah. So anyway, hopefully this fixes it. The other thing I notice on here is modern wallet infrastructure. We're starting to see some updates. We're seeing how you can now archive a node in under 2 terabytes. We can see that the Explorer is being updated. Is there something with the wallet infrastructure? Maybe so. I saw that, and that was one of the first things that I thought. Now, granted, Internet Money Wallet is fantastic, already set up for Pulse Chain. But Richard, for a long time, has said, I want to have my own wallet. So, that could be another foreshadowing of what else is coming. I don't think that he's done. I mean, there's going to be a lot of updates that people are going to be slowly, made aware of, and things are going to get good here really quickly. I'm curious to see what Pulse X updates. Maybe do we have single-sided staking? Do we have limit orders? Do we have some things like that in the making? I'm very excited. This is one of the other things I was talking about when we first came on the show, is how I'm starting to see bullish things. And these are the reason for most of them, these updates that are happening. People don't realize it yet how important this is, but good things coming.
Yeah, I agree. And to your point, that's the main point of all this. So there's been a lot of updates that RH has posted this week. It's more so the timing of all this, the fact that it's all happening right now. We knew always that updates like this would trickle out, and that things were purposefully shitty and clunky when things didn't matter. Like that, I'm certain that that's true. Like you just mentioned the single-sided staking that everybody clamored about for Pulse X and felt like they were promised or whatever, and it's never been present. I don't know that it ever will be, because I know he's kind of down talked it a lot. But we also had, obviously, one of the things you didn't mention really there that were huge is the liquidity providing pools that have all been pulled, PULLED, basically not pulled, but they're worthless. They're not worth doing right now. And boy, I don't even remember when that was, but that's when the big liquidity, I think last spring, maybe even earlier than that, the liquidity crunch basically with Pulse Chain, all the liquidity being removed, highly incentivized to get yourself out of all of the pools if you had been in them. We saw a lot of OA hex stakes, obviously long-term, being punted out and everything. So yeah, I think that we've purposely seen a product that is finished in terms of operation, but it can have many, many things sprinkled on top that were purposely not there when it didn't matter as much,
Yep. What's interesting, now that you mentioned that, and we haven't looked at the Pulse Chain, Pulse X ratio in a while. Just wondering, you would probably be in pretty good shape had you left your liquidity in there at this point, and it would have come back to where it was. Because remember how it was getting kind of offsides, how the ratio was running away. You were ending up with a lot more Pulse X than Pulse, or the other way around, Pulse than Pulse X, because Pulse X was going up. And I just knowing that it dipped and came back kind of to normal, and wondering what would have been the difference if you had kept your liquidity in there. We wouldn't have needed it much, and it would have come back to more balance probably than that it had been in a while. So
I don't think it would have been worth the risk, because you're earning like hardly any incentive token at this point. I mean, I know
what are you gonna do with it, right? You're not selling right now,
right? But yeah,
you
I don't
just
know.
earning more ink, even though the yield was not that great. The risk wasn't
Well, you have the benefit of hindsight, though. I mean, I wouldn't have continued to do it
Sure.
with that little amount. And I'm like, to your logic, why don't you just go throw it all in right now then? You know what I mean?
Well, because we've already missed the pullback, is what I'm saying. It would have
Oh,
been beneficial. Obviously, yes, we have hindsight now. Um, I realize that it would be you'd be back in the same situation then. You pulled out at the top of it, and then you put back in at the low. You know, it's
right. That's why I would just rather, like, it was comfortable when we were getting, man, I think the lowest in the stretch that you and I were in it was maybe 8% APY and
yeah,
as high
yeah,
as over 20%. So,
yeah,
yeah, which if we were still getting that, I'd be fine with it. But yeah, but I fully think they're going to come back. Somebody in the chat, Red Bull earlier, was just talking about polls and stuff like that coming back. I think that is all planned. I think that is going to happen, and it's again. I mean, it's intentfully waiting until things are getting frothy again.
sure,
And if I were Richard, I would still. Clearly, the marketing is starting, so that's good. But I'm not going to sit here and massage everybody to feel good about the product or anything like that. I'm not going to go out of my way. I mean, if you're weak-handed and are still going to sell now, then go ahead and do it. You know what I
yeah.
mean? So,
Yep.
yeah.
I still think we've got a little time to go. Seeing the negativity and seeing that there's still some negative pressure. I don't think they're quite out yet. And if it were me, I wouldn't be dumping a bunch in, seeing people sell it off immediately. The timing isn't quite right. But everything else is kind of things are starting to. I guess my point is things are starting to fall into place. Right.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of updates to the system. You've got the marketing kicking off and starting to get into high gear. Many more of those to come. It's just the dominoes are being set up, and yeah, like Bitfinesse said, the match is almost struck.
Yep. I agree. Do you want to look at his kind of final update about the Richard post about the Go Pulse update
Sure.
from Ethereum here too? Okay, so Go-Pulse version 3.3 has just been released. This is a major update that rebases from Go Ethereum Geth version 1.13.13 to V1 .16.3. This release brings significant performance improvements. Thank you, Ethereum, for testing software on mainnet ETH before it benefits our integrated into Pulse chain. Somebody just made that joke again in the chat. Thanks, Vitalik. Thank you for Ethereum for being our test net.
Yep.
Salute to you guys. But yeah, another update here, and I think he has another follow up to this that you mentioned earlier. Yeah. So you can run your own archive node under 2 terabytes now. And what was it before? Yeah, he says it. So just sync from scratch. Don't update an existing DB. If you want that ability, which the path-based DB instead of hash-based DB brings, it is probably one of the best features of this release. Archive nodes used to take 12 plus terabytes. So explain what this all means, Ewok, for us.
Well, to the best of my ability,
Yeah.
there is a difference between a path-based database or a hash-based database. So apparently that's what the improvements were made. It takes so much less space to do the same thing, is what he's getting at. Now, I didn't get into read all of these improvements, but I completely agree. You said what Go Pulse is that? What is that?
When I first saw that, I'm like, what is he saying here?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people read it and thought that it was the Go Pulse website, like that. But Go, like if you do Go Ethereum, that's the language that this is written in.
Right. And I've seen
when you hear people talk about Geth, well, Go Pulse is the same thing. It'd be GPLS instead. That's the Go is the language that a lot of this stuff is written in. So yeah, I mean, again, more updates. These things are the improvement alone in just the space that it takes to archive a node is incredible, right? It was taking 12 terabytes. Now you're down to 2.
right.
And you can set them, I think, if you don't have to run a full archive node, you can also make them prune themselves, right? So you can keep a 500 gigabyte pruned archive that will still keep up to date. Now it will prune as it goes and get rid of the older stuff, which, a lot of people can do that too. I don't know that you can do that while you're operating a node. But if you want to run your own node that isn't a validator, I'm sorry, that's what I meant, validator, not node. You can still maintain your own node and do that as well. So there are some very interesting things in here. They waited till Ethereum integrated it way back here, whatever they've done. I mean, there's been several updates, it looks like, from this is where we started. I think the 1.13.13, and now it's up to 1.6.3. So there's been several. So again, he waited till Ethereum didn't have any issues with it, made sure it worked, and then finally implemented it. So it is fantastic to have somebody else take the chance. Ethereum has always had the bug bounty programs, so I'm sure there were people in there trying to poke holes in it and find any bugs or problems with it. They didn't have any, so now we've integrated it to Pulse Chain. It's fantastic.
Yeah, awesome to see and continue to benefit off of stuff that Ethereum gets to be the guinea pig for, and we get to pick what we adopt. So very, very cool for sure. And lots of good updates there from Richard this week. I want to get into this one real quick final topic because it's something that we have talked about at length for a long time. So obviously it's no secret that there is the Pulse Chain Treasury, which is in the top, 3 or 4 Ethereum, top 5 Ethereum strategic reserves out there. And just recently, we did see apparently $4.5 million in USDC from Ethereum bridge to Pulse Chain just in the last couple of days that I believe were all linked to various Tornado Cash addresses.
Imagine
that. Yeah, I thought that was very interesting. I'm curious what you think of that, and something that we've talked about before, about the idea of that there is this just a big entity out there, like the Ethereum Strategic Reserve, and people know that that's out there for potentially, could it be used to help pump Pulse Chain and stuff like that? What would it be used for? And the idea of it potentially never being used, and the carrot on the stick analogy of it, of just when that money is bridged over before, let's say it doesn't even buy anything, but you just see this money come in, what it makes people do, how it makes people react. You can kind of get a little bit of a trigger warning to see what will people do. Will they try to front run this, or will they fade it? What are they going to do? So I'm curious where you think this is all coming from, and if there is validity to that, because I would think in an ideal world, the person in charge of that entity or people would really not want to spend any of it if you can get away with it. Like if you can achieve the glory with this ecosystem that you want to without having to tap into that, that'd be pretty ideal. I don't know if it's possible or not. That's over our heads for sure. But what do you make of that and this money coming in?
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. I to your point, I agree. Ideally, you don't want to use it. You don't want to, just blow it as exit liquidity if people are selling every time that it pumps. So there are going to be some times where you do need to purchase a little bit and throw a little bit into the fire and see what happens. It's a test, right? Are people ready for this, or are they just going to sell it back down and we wait a little bit longer? Richard has always been a pretty savvy trader. He's said so himself. He's called tops and bottoms pretty well. So even getting things kicked off, just even moving, like you said, moving the stuff there, see what happens. Are people going to front run it? Are they going to say, well, I'm buying now, get ahead of this before it really does move? If you can achieve that without spending anything, that would be fantastic. However, I think he is also smart enough to know, spend a little bit, create some flows, spend a little bit, create some flows, take a little off the top. You don't have to kill the market. You can set limit orders in different places. So that's possible without hurting the market. So there are ways to do it where you inject some money, maybe even make a little more. That is possible, but you don't have to kill the price to do that. And there are so many ways out there, that we've talked about before, where you can make that happen. So yeah, even like I said, I wouldn't expect it to just go in and never come back out. Like I wouldn't see that happening. Ideally, you make even, you break even, or make a little bit. I don't think Richard's here to take money from people. Again, I don't think he wants to lose a stack either. So if it can be done, in a way that's very strategic, to where, yes, you put some in and then take a little bit out later. I see that as a highly probable scenario.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. And there's a lot of options, a lot of different things that you can do. I mean, that's one nice thing about it is it does afford you options. And clearly, like Richard, like a lot of people, this is the thing that I think people have gotten wrong, and I understand what their thought process was with this, but saying things to those of us that are invested in Pulse Chain, like, you keep calling this a Pulse Chain treasury, like it's another man's money. What are you talking about? Well, that other man eventually, reached out to or prodded. I don't never remember the guy's name, but the guy that keeps track of all the Ethereum reserve accounts. But Richard himself was like, "Hey, you guys are missing somebody and stuff," until they started to post his on there. So evidently he wants that out there. You know what I mean? For some reason or another.
Hey, listen, it's an advertisement, right? It is a big billboard of who the hell's Pulse Chain. For those that don't know, you see the rankings and you see it on there. It may get people to look into it. Who's Pulse Chain? Who's these people that have all this ETH? What's going on over there? And then they read into it, and why not? Right? It's all you're doing is parking your money. It's not costing you anything. It is a free advertisement for your whole ecosystem. So, I agree completely.
Yeah, awesome. Well, a lot of good stuff. I think that pretty much covers everything that we wanted to go over, but a lot of great stuff, a lot of amazing things coming down the pike here in crypto, and a lot of reasons to feel bullish. I mean, honestly, I almost want to go back and watch the first half hour of the show that we just did after we're done, because just as a reminder for myself, if I'm feeling down or whatever over the next few weeks or whatever it may be, just to kind of see, once you step back and look at things, like I know there's a lot of worry out there and a lot of doubt, but there's a lot under the surface that people are not looking at. And honestly, when does a bull market end on the majority of people having worry and doubt? I mean, that's not typically the way things go. The way things go is that all of these people are bought in. And you know what? Not only is the 4-year cycle over, but we may just go into 2027 now, and then just absolute asinine things start to come out. Yeah. So do you have any final thoughts on everything tonight, Ewok?
I do. I want to share this quick little update regarding one of the topics that we were just discussing, and how Pateus has also integrated this, but they did give a not a warning, but kind of a, here, hang on, let me bring this up. I just want to make sure people know this, because we do talk about Pateus a lot. And they said we'd been expecting this up. I forgot to bring this up when we were talking about the Go Pulse update. We've been expecting this update, so we were ready. Along with a few minor tweaks we had on standby, all Pathfinder sources are now updated and reloaded. On top of that, we're pushed some UI improvements and added new wallet options. Make sure your UI is V205. If not, hit a hard refresh. So I just wanted everybody to know that, because we use Pateus. A lot of people use Pateus. Make sure your UI is updated, because they claim they've added some things. Now, I haven't seen it. I haven't looked, but I did just want to pass that along. So
yeah, that is definitely good to know. What do they say to actually do? Make sure you
hit a hard refresh.
Okay.
So when you load it, make sure you're on the right version. Just check the about. If you go up in the corner, it says about. Make sure you know what version you're on. If you're not, close it down, or reload it from from the original page. So
that's interesting. I was just going to go to it on here real quick to just see what I might be getting, but it's still loading at the moment. So cool. All right. Well, yeah, Patay is definitely great, and I'm sure they'll get that figured out. Right now, my site's still loading, but I don't know why. Well, that I think wraps us up. This has been a great show. Extremely active chat. Really appreciate all you guys being here. Hopefully a sign of the times where we're at. We are now in October. The spooky season is here. Crypto Q4 is here for 2025. Will we go into 2026? Will we have hockey stick action over the next couple of months? I don't know. We'll see. But if you are joining us late and did miss the first 30 to 40 minutes of tonight's show, I would really go back and check that out. I think we had a great conversation and a lot of things to feel bullish about. So we really appreciate all of you guys. Philly, Hex Girl, Valiant Low Key, Checks My Pulse. We had Tam here earlier, Armando, Nathan Julian, Ivor, Allen, Bit Finesse, of course. How could I forget? Don Swan, Mr. Chinks, and so many more. I'm probably missing some people, but
thank you to everybody, man. These guys are here every week, and you know, we couldn't do this without you guys too. So we appreciate it.
We could. It would just be depressing.
Well, it'd be pretty lonely, right?
Yeah. We could be yelling into space, but luckily this is the best community in crypto, and we love you guys. Appreciate you being here every week. We will be here next Wednesday as we move through October, and boy, hopefully have a lot more to talk about. So, for Crypto Ewok, this has been Boo Boy Crypto right here on the Creed of Crypto. See you guys.
See ya.